in the middle of the second section on page Pei Aleph. Believe it or not.
It's the third section.
What?
Last one over. It's the third section.
Oh, you mean Kitzur is also a section, yeah. I didn't count Kitzur as a section. And the line begins with the word be-ayzeh, which is about 8 lines from the beginning. And in this section, the Rebbe points out a totally novel approach to the phenomenon of the different madrigas in Oyer, that up until this point we were attributing it to the keilim. Now the Rebbe points out that really, in truth, the most important aspect of this is from the oil itself. The oil is the one that initiates the whole medida, the whole differences in different madrigas. And as we said, the Rebbe doesn't mention it here, but he mentioned it earlier. Because the oil inherently is a type of oil, it's called oil pnimi. Its aim is, its inherent significance is to ultimately have effect. And this is why the oil is identifying the measures, the means by which it can be mislavish in keilim. And this is where the different madrigas originate. This is an extremely important presentation, concept. Because if we say that the measurements are due to the keilim, then the measurements are insignificant in terms of the oil. The keilim are limited, and and that's what you have. So he says no. The real measurement is from the oil because of the purpose and what the oil is aimed to accomplish. It measures itself accordingly so that it would be able to accomplish it. If we should translate this on a broader scale, Hashem creates the world. And He provides the world with infinite largis and brochas and so forth. And yet, everything comes through very narrow conduits. And even after the conduit is already in operation, it's stop and go. So one would think that this is due to the keilim, to the way the world operates. You have a job, and then you lose your job. You have to start looking for another job. This is how the world operates. It has nothing to do with what you're supposed to get and what you're supposed to do with what you get. So we say this is not the case. Everything that a person gets, all blessings that a person gets, they are measured according to what they aim to accomplish. Not according to how it works out on the practical level. What you got. Just an aside comment.
So how does all Pnimi come into this picture?
In this picture, because why would the oil measure itself? The oil inherently is pretty good. So why would it measure itself? Because it has an inherent aim and purpose to be able to imbue itself in the keilim. Okay, we're not finished it yet, as if we ever will. Okay, so we're on the line that's starting with what be-ayzeh from your be-ayzeh. Be-ayzeh from your be-ayzeh is what is the manner in which the oil will express it, will recognize in the elements. That is the medida in the oil. This is the measure that comes from the oil itself. Yesh loimer, we're going into parentheses. Yesh loimer. It is reasonable to say that all the way to the initial source of this entire process of oils and keilim, medidas ha-keilim kodom li-medidas ha-oil. The measurement for the keilim precedes the measure for the oil. What does that mean?
That's the contrary of what we just said.
Right. That's why the Rebbe says, Shoyrosh Orishin, in the origin, the way it comes in practice, the oil measures itself, and then the keilim is created as a result. But this whole concept has an origin way before it is oil and keilim. Shoyrosh Orishin means before it's oil and before it's keilim. Shoyrosh Orishin is when it is in the state of a rotza, of intent, or even before the rotza. So Shoyrosh Orishin, medidas ha-keilim precedes the medida of the oil. The design of the keilim precedes the design of the oil. Why is that? This point that the Rebbe says that yesh leima means it's possible to say. I think that the real way of presenting what yesh leima means, it's reasonable to say. It makes sense to say. There is room to say this. Why is there room to say that keilim, shoyrosh ha-keilim, that medida keilim precedes the medida oil? If the oil measured itself according to the keilim, could it be said that the whole phenomenon of the oil measuring itself is simply a descent for the oil? What's the point? There has to be also some kind of a gain, some kind of an ascent. Because the medidas ha-keilim is kodom, it precedes the medidas oil. There is a higher significance in medidas ha-keilim than medidas oil. And now the Rebbe explains the tachlis ha-kavona, because the ultimate intent hu b'yizhavos ha-keilim. It is in the yizhavos ha-keilim, in the coming forth of the keilim. That is the ultimate kavona in the whole seder ishtalshulos, on the whole gili of Eres and Keilim. What does it mean? Tachlis ha-kavona b'yizhavos ha-keilim. The who, and this is also the point, Mashe binyan ha-choimer kodum b'shorshil hatzur, that the building and they're putting together the chomer, identifying the chomer. The chomer means the matter, the material. Kodum precedes limdidas ha'oir, precedes the measurement of the oil. All this will be further elaborated, and we'll discuss it. But let's try to understand what Rebbe says. The chomer means the material, the tangible part of this entire of the entire structure. The keilim also is not just tangible. The keilim also has a form, and the form of the keilim is an enormous finesse. That's what we have. There's the sefer, right? The form is an enormous presentation. It's very easily managed. The pages can turn back and forth. It's a very presentable element. And when you look at this keilim, immediately you see what this is about. It's not meant to have pages. It's meant that the page should carry a message. And yet, this keilim is the first thing that happens in keilim is the chomer, is the material which it is made. In other words, material, the chomer. In other words, what's that?
I heard something, but is someone speaking on the line?
Well, no, they'll say it after. In other words, the chomer that is involved in the keilim, you would think that this is a byproduct. You need to make the keilim a certain form, so you have material that allows itself to be formed in this form. So he says, no. The chomer itself is something which precedes even the tzura. The chomer, in other words, carries a deeper relationship to the source of sources than the tzura. Than the tzura. Than the form.
In the context here, the implication that tzura is an or element, and
Tzura is what?
Is an or element.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's the
Just to simplify this, not the end of the story, but just to simplify. When we speak seichel. That's what the speech is all about. Seichel exists in thought, and it exists even higher than thought. And then it translates into speech.
Mute your phone, please.
In speech, there are two distinct parts. The words, the sound of the words, the physical presence of the words, and the thought that they carry. Clearly, when we speak, we aim at carrying the thought, not on creating the sound of the speech. This is within the Seder Hishtalshos. At this point, when we are already functioning in this level, the material, the sound, is of a secondary value compared to the seichel. But in the overall scheme of things, meaning when you go back to the significance of having a creation, of having a world, The chomer is what it is about.
Is what?
That's what it's about.
Okay, and that last sentence. In terms of the kavanah, the chomer is what it's about?
The chomer is what the creation is about.
What's that mean?
But isn't thought preceding?
Huh?
Didn't we always said that thought precedes the speech?
That's right. So this is what we're saying. I warn you, we're coming from a completely different angle. We're now speaking about what's called the overall scheme of things, not how things occur in our experience.
This is inside the Yesh Loimar.
Yeah.
When you're saying the overall scheme of things,
That's it.
the statement here is that
Yeah.
material is more fundamental than form. The chomer is more fundamental than surah.
That's right.
But it's not higher in terms of the intention, or it is. Meaning?
The first beginning, the first root, where everything starts from.
Is that like saying everything starts from digging the basement, or everything starts from the real plan? The real plan is not to just have material, correct?
The real thing is that whatever you have, it should be in a material state.
Okay.
Therefore, the material aspect precedes in terms of its intent, of its conceptualization before anything else.
That phrase itself sounds like it's the exact opposite. Whatever you have should be in a material state. So first is whatever you have, and then, okay, I want it to be in a material state.
Why should it be in a material state?
I don't know.
We have presented this last time when we first started this. The principle ha-ma'aseh hu ha-yikor. The action is the principle, is the most important thing. How can ma'aseh be more important than thought, than learning? Learning, you have really, so to speak, a godly principle in your mind. Ma'aseh and action is performed with your hands. And that is the ego. And the reason is the ego, even though we're not going to right now identify it, but principally we say with the ego, that means that there is expressed the presence of the creation more than in your thought. So I said, I'm with you.
The thing that strikes me here is that we're talking about this essential character of things, the overall scheme of things, but it is expressed in a parenthesis, and the parenthesis starts with Yesh Loma.
Thank you.
So it would seem that it's less important than what preceded. Why did you put it in parentheses?
Is it like a you might have thought? Because it's the
the answer to that, I can give you only my answer, might and ever see why the Rebbe puts some things in parentheses. But as you learn, you get a feel for it. When you start talking about shoyresh orishin, shoyresh orishin is not in the normal process of our thought. We don't think about shoyresh orishin, we think about what's happening by us. Shoyresh orishin is something we are climbing way outside of our mandate. So we say no. We are talking about our situation and our performance and our involvement. But our involvement, and this is what we have to focus on. Thank you very much. This is what we have to focus on. In our involvement, in that which lends itself to be understood from our own experience and our own performance, somehow something points to Shoresh Harish. There's something odd in the way things materialize in our own world that forces you to say, hey, there's something else here, something missing. That's v'yesh leimer. If we say that in our process, speech is more significant than thought, action is more significant than speech, or this the material action is more significant than the seichel, that it doesn't make sense. As much as you explain this, but with all that, it still points to something which is odd within our scheme of things. Because in our thought process, in our world, if somebody is involved in the deepest thoughts, you're saying that's a real thing. Who is the most important contributor to a structure?
The doer, the person who builds it.
Who asked you?
You did.
Who is the most important contributor to a structure?
The designer.
There was a Brooklyn Bridge. Everybody knows the Brooklyn Bridge is one of the three bridges across the East River. They were in those days. This was a big invention, big accomplishment. I think Brooklyn Bridge, not Brooklyn, Williamsburg Bridge, I think is one of the first ones. Williamsburg Bridge has an inherent error. If you drive down the Williamsburg Bridge, you know a bridge is supposed to go straight. All of a sudden, you have to go around the pillar. It was a very serious engineering error. Who built it? The builders. Who took the guilt for it? And unfortunately, the man couldn't suffer it, and he jumped off the bridge. The designer.
Oh.
He couldn't face it. Because that's what that's what is the cause. The credit, the failing, and the success go back to the original designer. Not only to the designer, but really, as we speak many times, you look at the Empire State Building. Who could ever conceptualize, forget about design, even have the spirit saying, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to make a 100-story building. You're climbing into the stratosphere. That's a human spirit. The big thing about this spirit, okay, now that we mentioned this, it's going to help us to understand. The big thing about this spirit is not that somebody can look up into the sky that high. It is that he conceptualized to put it down into brick and steel. Into actual structure.
That's the Shoresh Harishon.
That's like the Shoresh Harishon. This is the the power of this of the spirit, I can put this into a physical structure. Okay, and this, of course, is deviating from the scheme of things in the normal process. The normal process, you get the idea and says it's feasible. Let's do it. He creates the feasibility. He initialize a new concept in what's feasible. All right. Okay, let's continue. The line begins with the word ha'oyer, and in the middle of the line, v'hu, and that is, said that the ultimate kabbon is havas keilim, and that is mashe binyan hachoymer kodum b'shorshel hatzura, that the building of the choymer means the material, precedes in the design of the tzura, of the form.
So what did he have in mind when he was building the Empire State Building? The bricks. Before he had the
he had in mind that the brick is not limited to be on the ground. And there could be brick 100 stories up. I don't know if anybody, I myself am very limited knowledge, but you read about it. To be able to put a structure like this, you have to provide for the various winds. And these tall structures are invariable and have to be moving, have to be allowed to fluctuate. If they don't fluctuate, they're going to crack. And all that has to be included in that design. I know the Eiffel Tower, which doesn't compare to the Empire State Building. The Eiffel Tower is based on water. It's setting on water, not on ground. And I think it moves on a constant basis a few yards across like this. And the tip. And if not for that, it would crack. So that to conceptualize that material can be so designed that it should represent something which is completely outside of the realm of material is a tremendous accomplishment. There's a few more words. I don't want to stop in our talk. V'zehu hatam. That too is the reason mashe hakeilim l'maylo mamshichim as ha'oyer. That the keilim l'maylo, the weight keilim are l'maylo above, mamshichim as ha'oyer. The keilim actually draw the oyer. Meaning to say, if there's a keili, the oil detects the keilim and comes into the keilim. The keilim have an enticing element for the oil to come. Which is different than the way keilim are here below. The keilim here below are on receptacles for that which you can put in the keilim. The keilim are not the solicitors. Typically, when you are in a restaurant or a wedding, and they serve soup or whatever they serve, they first put the plate down, and then put the food into the plate. So you would think that the plate is what elicits, calls the food and says, oh yeah, the plate put the food into the plate. But that's not what happens. What happens is the plate is put there because the food is already ready to be put in there. The plate is only a receptacle for the food, for the oil, not a mamshich. Mamshich means it draws it. It is the enticement. The enticement to put the food is not because there's a keilim. Lamato rak mekab me'ador anitim aticha. Avol lamailo, but lamailo at a higher level, lamailo hakeilim mamshichim ezoir. The keilim are actually mamshich. They actually draw the oil. כמו, yes, for example, Evore haguf shemamshichim as achayis. The evorim of the guf, the hands, the feet, the eyes, the ears, and so forth. The mamshich the chayis. They draw the chayus hanefesh, to come into them and to give them and enliven them up, and to give them the inspiration. Which means that the nefesh, the oil hanefesh, has some kind of a response. The fact that there is a hand, it wants to get into the hand and give it chayis. And that is due to the fact shoyresh hakeilim kodem el ha'oil. It is because the shoyresh hakeilim, the root, which means the tip, the top, the initial conceptualization of the keilim, kodem el ha'oil, actually precedes the oil.
Understand, using this mashal, is that just like Lamata, the person needs, let's say, to want to move the hand. So the person is the intermediary. So too, Lamaila, the keli is mamshich da'o. The Eibishter wants the o to be in the keli. Almost is like an independent quality, independent power to the o. That the keli is mamshich da'o. The Eibush decide Arius B'Keilim. So this is the basic question I have with this. It may be enticing, but Shafkus of the Eibush that wants to earn the Keilim. That's why the others in the Keilim.
This principle, in different settings, we've discussed it many times. You have a table. A table is a keilim for convenient procedure, convenient eating, grinding, whatever it is. When you sit at a table, what your consciousness, what the experience of sitting at the table is not the convenience of the table. It brings out a profound significance in the human being for being at the table. We said the table represents a certain glory, a certain honor. Although, practically speaking, it's a keilim. The keilim is mamshech the oil from the nefesh. to the extent that as we're sitting at the table, we forget about the convenience. We're going right back into ourselves at a higher level. It's because the keilim represents that. Just a few more words so we know what we're talking about. Okay. However, okay, this is a very important caveat. And this occurs after that the keilim is refined. Well, according to the manner, the extent to which the keilim was nizdachich, was refined. Mamshech as a oir. Then the keilim is able to be mamshech the oir. Ubitchilas ha'izavus, but in initial izavus, when it's first created, harei mihisavus oir nasa ha'keilim. On the contrary, then the keilim represents the lowliness, the visavus, the coarseness of the earth. Coming back to our very, very simple mashal, but it's as we said many times, everything is accurate because everything translates at every level. The table is an accurate mashal. If you have a table and it's a big mess and it's dirty all over the place, this is not mamsheh the oir. Pardon me to recall these kind of things. I remember breakfasting in the yeshiva. By the time you get to the breakfast table, there's egg peels all over the place, orange peels all over the place, and whatnot. By the time you have that, you'd rather run away from this table. To sit and eat that day, it doesn't help you. It turns you off. Or else, if you're not lazy, you go and clean all the mess up and create a little bit of a table, and then you can sit by it. So the table, the keilim, has to be also nizdache. You have to reveal in the keilim what it is about. The finer aspect of the keilim, not just you have a place to throw your peels in. But reflecting what the table is about, the human aspect of it. After the zichuch hakeilim, then the keilim is mamshech yoir. Then yes, indeed, a person prefers to sit at a table rather than walk around with his plate in his hand like I point out all the time.
So the oir refines the keilim? The oir cleans the keilim off?
No. The keilim has to be nizdachech by your personal effort. This comes from a higher command, from the shaykhs who say, you better clean this up. And then once it's cleaned up, then the keilim is mamsheh as oir. The cleaning it up does not come from the keilim or the oil, it comes from poshet human dignity. You're a human being, where you go?
It's not or hanefesh?
It's not even RASHAB, this is etzem hanefesh. You don't belong here. All right, gentlemen, whatever it's worth, whatever we got this morning, we tried our best. After reflection, maybe we'll be mizachet hazakeli a little bit. And now we're going to go down. Have a good day.